All right, here we go yet once again. It's Ozzy and Keats. We're not great. We're just okay. We are brought to you by our friends at Podcast Nation in Troy. John Keating here along Lake Michigan in Grand Haven. Chris Osgood is in his estate in suburban Detroit. And we begin by talking about, and we are brought to you by Meyer. Meyer brings more good to every game day. We can't thank Meyer enough for being a part of Ozzy and Keats as we continue this foolishness. As we begin, though, let's talk backgrounds. For those of you watching on YouTube, the listeners won't get any of this, but for the first time, I guess since we started this or since I moved away, um, I'm not doing it at Oddside Ales Tap Room in downtown Grand Haven. I'm at the house. We have gone satellite Starlink internet, and so it is fabulous because Ozzy Elon Musk needs more money.
It's a big test for you doing this with not intoxicated. So we'll see if you're still bringing on your A game or, the other side of you is a little boring. So, I mean, you've documented the years of television, everything that happened. So
it disappoints you that I'm not in a bar as we.
I'm not going to lie. It does.
Yeah.
I love calling you in the afternoon and I can hear the rumblings in the background and you're at happy hour. I mean, I do enjoy that. So I did like when you were at the Oddside Ale Tavern. I wish you were still there, but it's a good test for you. So as we're speaking, what is it? You're probably got the car running and heated up right now, getting warm for your trip to the happy hour.
Yeah,
or take a cab.
Depending on how this day goes with you, that's always on the menu, I guess. Once I finish one of these things, I'm just drained. Let's talk about what's behind you, your background, because you've discovered a little more technology.
I know you can't see it. I don't know how to center it, so it's one step at a time for me. But I believe it's Bobby Higginson, right?
Yeah.
Grant Hill, and Brendan Shanahan.
Correct.
And then there's you.
Yeah.
John Keating, sneaking around, hiding around. He can be in either shoulder. What do you call it? The angel and the devil.
Yeah. As always, looking over your shoulder to make sure that you stay on the straight and narrow. That picture we've discussed it before was from TV Guide. When people cared about TV Guide, the beginning of our run at Pass Sports, it was game night on Pass with the Tigers and Red Wings, and you were playing back then. And I was just playing on TV from downtown Detroit. We are going to be joined in a matter of moments by the longtime radio voice of the Red Wings, Ken Kal, and you've got Ken Kal stories stored up in the holster, I'm sure.
I love Ken Kal because I'm a big radio guy. I'm that where I grew up in Alberta. The junior team was called the Tigers. So for people around here, it'd be like the Detroit Junior Red Wings when they played at the Joe, or the Plymouth Whalers who played here. I used to with my grandpa, and he'd have a chair and I have a chair, and we listened to the pregame show on the radio. Bob Ridley, he did it forever. He should be in the Hockey Hall of Fame. And the radio voices were everything then, and they had those memorable voices, and it had those comfort voices when you heard him speak. And so when I played for the Tigers, it was for my grandparents and me and my mother. It was a huge deal for him to be saying my name on that radio channel. So I'm a big radio guy. When I'm done doing my game, I listen to the post game. Ken Kal, I'm driving home. I love listening to him. Paul Woods do a fantastic job. Two legends.
Yeah, I think we all, people of a certain vintage anyway, we all grew up listening to the games on the radio, the clock radio next to the bed, or the transistor radio under our pillow. And for Red Wing fans, it was Bud Lynch and then Bruce Martin. And the last 31 years, it's been Ken Kal and Paul Woods. That they're similar to all of the voices that we've had, Dan Dickerson and Ernie Harwell and George Blah, Mark Champion. Those are the voices that,
voices, eh?
Yeah, we're accustomed to. We've been very lucky in Detroit to have great radio announcers.
Bob Cole, we'd be remiss not to mention our friend Mickey Redmond.
Absolutely.
His voice. Yeah. Wow. Incredible stuff. And fortunate to have all these guys and be part of our lives with their voices. And I think Bob Cole in Canada. I mean, memorable. Bud Lynch, I mean, I love Bud Lynch. You listen to him, I'd be sitting in the net and hear him announce goals and last minute of plays, and he'd say, and that was when the Russian guys were coming over, so he struggled with those names, but it was awesome. But he did not say them right, but it was part of it. I mean, it's all good. Everybody's got to be perfect. There's no such thing as perfection. And that was all part of it for me. I used to love it. So, and God bless all those guys that are great at what they do and legends made our life.
Yeah, it's one of the really cool things that, that they still use the voice of Bud Lynch for the last minute
Oh, isn't it?
period.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just,
Yeah.
similar to, when, the legendary voice, Bob Shepard at Yankee Stadium, Derek Jeter, even after he passed, would still use, Derek Jeter, as a
Yeah.
recorded introduction, and that was really cool. So,
Lots of cool voices and
yeah.
it's
Um,
it's good stuff, and, it's not like those, TV personalities with their faces, and they gotta look all good, and, those guys are, and then they come out with who they really were after they retire, and
well,
all the stuff
yeah, I mean, you
flying out of the closet, and, holy my god, I can't believe he did what he did,
I
and
know. Well, I mean, you just have to move your head and people get a sense as to, what in the actual hell happened to that guy? How much life did he live from that?
you look like you could have been Crockett and Tubbs' partner right there off Miami Vice. That's right there. There you are. You're like the
Yeah,
third guy
right.
in Miami Vice.
All right. We've got some stories that we're going to share, and Ken Kal will have some stories when he joined us. But we have questions from listeners and viewers as we always do. Questions are brought to you by Meyer. Meyer is your one-stop fan shop from team branded gear to tailgate essentials and snacks for watching from the couch. Meyer stores give fans everything they need to celebrate game day their way. And a question, for Ozzy, what's the most from Ian McDonald, what's the most pain you ever felt from a shot? Because he said skaters miss games all
Oh.
the times when they get hit by a puck. Goalies, not so much. What was the one shot?
No, back I was practicing and well, when McKinnis broke my hand on my blocker, that stung bad. Um, but Vyacheslav Kozlov, we were doing 200 practice, and back then you had the old pads. Didn't have as they were forming your leg is a good way I can put it, as much as they were later in my career. They were all you had your straps, but they moved around a lot. They could turn. And yeah, 2-on-1, he passed over to Kazi in practice and he took kind of a one-timer shot. And my pad turned, John, it hit me right on the shin, like dead on my shin. And immediately it was the size of bigger than a golf ball. It just swelled right up. It was that was the most pain I've ever been through. I've been hit by a shot for sure.
And
Besides the one that Mickey rocketed into my private area.
well, yeah, the outdoor game, that is a classic piece of video, and we'll show the
Oh,
kids at home, that piece of video, here,
yeah.
but, you guys just went off on your own, and I don't know how the camera found Mickey taking a shot on you
Oh.
and hitting you right where it counts, while you guys were just goofing around.
Yeah, those are good. I miss those games, and we had a lot of fun. You park wherever you wanted. It was
Tell
just
that
it
story
was
again.
old school, right? We were watching the game, we're talking hockey with Mick and Murph, and around that in my
The
shack.
campfire, smoky,
Yeah, it
getting
was
all
great.
smoky.
Yeah, we had the best host beside the late great Bob Barker hosting the show. John Keating, he was fantastic. It was fun. I
Oh
mean,
my
I miss
god.
those. Hopefully, we get a chance to do one of those again. I get great feedback from that all the time.
I
People
know,
always ask
I
me,
know, I know,
walking
and
around
yeah,
town, I'm going to
I
do it
know.
again. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I enjoy.
Okay. And I will, and I've shared this. When I'm done with those nights, I couldn't get a gin and tonic in me fast enough.
Oh,
I mean, just
well, you could have had
just
one. We
drained.
have the supplies in the shack.
Well,
I
I
mean,
know,
you could
but
have
no, I'm
had
never
one.
doing that. I'm never, in spite of what you think, I'm never doing that, or I've never done that while we're on the air. So, but afterward, after dealing with you, after these podcasts, absolutely. Uh, Joshua Dickey is
Yeah.
asking, in honor of the late Larry Brooks, who just passed away, longtime writer for the New York Post, was there anyone that John Keating had a relationship with similar to John Tortorella and Larry Brooks? Because we saw the piece of video that came out again. after Larry's passing, where it got very contentious between Torts and
Always.
Larry Brooks. Yeah, when Torts was coaching the Rangers.
When I played in Long Island, I'd always get the other paper so I could read what Larry Brooks was talking about. Because the Rangers were okay, but they weren't great when I was with the Islanders. They had Eric Lindros and Darren Fleury. They had a lot of older guys. Again, the Chris Mark Messier was there. Mike Richter, the great goalie, was their goalie still. But Larry Brooks always his articles, and God bless him, but he would he'd do some digging and he'd irritate some guys for sure. But for the relationship John had, I would say
Well, the
as
question is for me. I mean, if you wanna go ahead and
yeah, I
answer
want
for me, go.
I'm gonna say Scotty Bowman for you,
Well, and
for sure.
and I guess that was the story that I was going to get to, and I don't think we've shared this story. And I know a lot of what Scotty felt about the media was his way of sort
Yeah.
of controlling the room and being in charge of the messages that were getting out. And we had a clock, a running clock in the dressing room. You had to be out by the time it hit 0. But the story is, and you were a part of this, um,
Yep.
we were, for some godforsaken reason, had a need to interview Chris Osgood before a pregame show, and we, I asked Ozzy after the morning skate, "Nope, I can't do it now," or "Don't wanna do it now." It was always whether he wanted to do it or not.
Mhm.
But I will do it in the afternoon because some guys
Yep.
would come back, and we had a little studio around the corner, to do interviews in the afternoon. And so I Ozzy showed up and arranged to do it. And um, and I was probably 2 questions into whatever it was we needed, and the door burst open, and it was Scotty Bowman just lighting me up because I was keeping Chris Osgood from getting ready to work the game that night, even though it was Ozzy's idea that we do it, in the afternoon. And so he kept tabs on everybody. And I know Scotty wasn't a fan of the way that I presented the Red Wings because he was, very much old school and didn't necessarily always like the humor. But, after each of us moved on, he was great and always gave me a smile and a handshake and a nod. So I know a lot of that was for effect. But you were right in the middle of that, and you got scolded too.
Absolutely. He was not happy. I think he's how did he know we were there? Somebody tipped him off, or did he see a
Well, I
camera?
think, yeah, I think he had a he had a TV in his room. He could sort of keep tabs on what was happening in the other, in the
Okay.
studio. That
Was
was
it
the story that I heard. So,
were there any players that you just didn't connect with, get along with that you yep, on any of the teams, anywhere, when you're in Denver or here?
yeah,
Like you'd walk in the room and he would cringe or he would not want to talk to you.
well, yeah, Delman Young was a member of the Tigers who didn't like the media and didn't like being interviewed. And not only that, made sure that, his teammates,
Yeah.
weren't included in that. I told the story about a pitcher with the Tigers who blamed me because he got lit up, and held that grudge for season after season after season. It
Really?
wasn't one of the big names. It wasn't JV or Scherzer or any of those guys, but it was, a guy who kind of knocked around a little bit and blamed me for the fact that, in the thin air of Denver, he had a tough night, and the next night pointed right at me and said, "This is your fault." So, anyway, so those things went on.
In general, that has been a theme that's been going on for probably since 2010. It's your fault. We've heard that a lot.
Yes.
After shows. It's your fault. Uh,
Well,
when
and
we're on it,
and where as a goalie, I mean, I know all hockey players are superstitious. Were there media members that you didn't wanna talk to because you felt somehow talking to them led to how the evening went for you?
never, never. I didn't mind talking to the media. I mean, Vernie and I taught me, get your message out how you think. If you don't, then things might get spoken in the wrong way, or people might make something up. So we always stuck around. I didn't mind anybody. Sometimes you get snappy, you don't feel like doing it sometimes, and then remember then, John, though, you'd be in your locker, and sometimes there could be in the playoffs 20 people around you, right? Like that was
Especially
old
yeah,
school.
especially if you were
And
playing a Canadian team. I mean, the
Yeah.
Canadian media really, really
Oh,
traveled. I mean, the Detroit media was pretty good, and back then when the Wings were really going, you had lots of media members in
yeah.
Detroit and Michigan there, but if you were playing a Canadian team ever, I mean, you had 20
Well,
people around you, so
dressing room would be packed. I mean, it would be jammed with people for playing Toronto. Like, then you start playing in the playoffs, and oh my gosh, I mean, there'd be people everywhere. You could get jammed up in there for 20, 25 minutes. But I always like talking to um some of the guys who are doing the TV, like Gary Thorne. I like if Panger was in town, Daryl Ray, who's Dallas's guy. There's a lot.
Bill Clement was
Yeah,
always
Bill. I love
around.
Bill
Yeah,
Clement.
yeah, yeah.
Even Barry Melrose, because Barry Melrose,
Gord
he
Miller,
did it.
yeah.
Yeah, Gordon Miller. I like talking to those guys. A lot of the guys from Canada. I always wanted to get on with Don Cherry. I never did. I did a couple interviews where you get the Hockey Night in Canada towel in the playoffs, and those are always cool. So as a kid, when you watch it, then you're actually doing it.
Yeah.
That's a really cool thing. But I never. I always like. I wanted to get on Coach's Corner once, or just get on after or something with him once. So that never happened. Thank goodness.
Well, and there's one story I will share with you. The Wings were in, Montreal, and so it
Yep.
was a post-game, and so we're, in front of the banner, that had the logo behind
Mhm.
us, and so we're waiting on Mike Babcock, coaching it then at the time, to come out, and
Yep.
so it was always our interview because we're interviewing the Red Wings head coach, our head coach, but there were a few, Canadian media members there, and so I kind of stepped forward to interview Mike Babcock, and I got tapped on the shoulder, "Monsieur, monsieur, monsieur, we don't do that here. Back up," he's telling me. He's telling me how we're gonna do the interview, with Mike Babcock, and collectively, they were sour that they felt like I was, taking over
Oh
the
my.
media. Now
Are you sure that wasn't are you sure that wasn't the night before that happened to you where you got tapped with Monsieur? We don't do that here.
yeah.
Monsieur.
From the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. Somebody some somebody saying, "Yeah, monsieur, we don't do that
Monsieur.
here." Yeah.
I love that.
You mi
It's
that
true
might
though.
be okay. It might be okay in your country, but monsieur, we do not do that here. So,
But then you were just sitting there, you mean you had to fight to get into interviews, especially in the playoffs, and
yeah,
the
but
they're
yeah.
territorial.
And
I
the
mean, they don't.
people I worked with always knew that I was one to sort of take charge. If it was an interview that I was doing, I would not defer. What I learned a long early in my career was get what you need, know what you wanna ask, get the
Yeah.
answers to your questions, and then get out. And then the players recognize that. The players appreciate that
Yeah.
you're not asking 20 minutes of questions for the 18-second soundbite that is gonna go on the pregame show.
I miss those days of those interviews in the room. I wish we did a little more of those now, but we don't get a chance. There's
Yeah,
usually a press conference after they brought it in another room. They come, everybody's sitting in seats, a little more organized. I get it, but kind of changed, when COVID hit. But I wish we'd go
yeah,
back to that where I like the look in the stalls and the locker room. It's more organic. The players are still sweaty. They got some of their stuff on still, and it's just I think it was there was more stuff to be said. It was more real. I
yeah.
felt like
And
so.
especially if we were doing something fun. If
Yeah.
it was yeah, I mean, let's not talk about the power play. I wanna tell you about, your 5 best movies that you've watched or
But half the time we did that when you
yeah,
think about it.
yeah.
You'd say,
And
I'd tell you to hold on.
And I
I'd
could
come
see the
back. Like,
players' faces light up because it's just like, "Oh, thank God we're not talking about the usual drivel. This is something fun that we can run with." And I think they appreciated that. They knew they knew they had the chance to, show some personality, and I think all the guys like that.
I remember the toughest was we lost in game 7 in '09, and you kind of get in the room, it's all that stuff. Pittsburgh's still on the ice, and fuck, it was like 10 minutes later, everybody's in the dressing room. Like, it was packed, obviously, right? But they're right in your stalls, and a couple other people wanted more, and I don't mind it. That's
Yeah,
part of it. That's the real stuff. You know what I mean? Like you're this is what happened. It's out there. How do you feel? What do you think? Well, I don't feel very good. I mean, that was a very difficult loss, but you got to you got to stand up after. I think
Right.
people appreciate.
And good on you for recognizing that because not all players do. They don't, they don't want
Oh,
they don't understand that it's part of being a professional.
I think a lot of our guys did. Then I mean, you
Then,
got a lot
right.
of our
Then,
guys
yeah.
stuck around.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of our guys and stayed in there, and it's tough, but it's reality. I mean, that's essentially what it is. You can't hide from it. It's tough, but at the same time, you look back on it now, it's the right thing to do all the time, and it turned out good. It's all good.
All right, let's step
Your
aside.
mom,
Let's
all good.
like me, all good. Let's step aside, and Ken Kal will join us in a second. But first, we need to tell you that Meyer fuels the fandom that brings people together, whether it's powering your pregame feast, gearing up for the season, or supporting the teams that make our cities proud. Meyer, make every moment of fandom even bigger, better, and more unforgettable. And of course, there's lots of fandom that is attached to everything that's going on with the Red Wings and the Pistons and the Lions these days. And soon enough, it'll be the Tigers again. And once again,
Yeah.
we can't thank Meyer enough for their sponsorship of the Ozzy and Keats podcast. Ken Kal in a second. All right, and here we go with a legend. You will know his voice. A lot of people have seen his face. He hangs with Chris Osgood on the road. Ken Kal joins us in his 31st. Is that correct, Kenny? 31st year of being
Yep,
the play-by-play voice of the Red Wings.
that's right, John. 31 years, hard to believe.
Unbelievable.
When I'm with Ozzy, it's like 40 or 50 years. But
I know it's terrible. It's terrible. Um, but all right. Let's go back to the beginning when you got the gig because and some people have heard this story, but you were the voice of the Michigan Wolverines, and then how do you end up in Detroit?
well, first and foremost, I grew up in the city of Detroit, and I've always been a Red Wing fan. And as you know, John, in this business, if you want to get into it, a lot of times you have to go somewhere else to get your start. And I was fortunate enough to get a job in Ann Arbor and call the Michigan games for Red Berenson for 11 years. But then I heard Bruce Martin was going to retire after the 1995 season, and this was when they were playing the Devils in the finals. So I wasn't going to submit my tape, but my analyst, his name was Jim Hunt at the time, kept bugging me. He says, "Hey, put your tape in, put your tape in. You know, you'll have a good chance." And I'm thinking, I'm just a college hockey guy. Like they're going to want somebody with more experience, and maybe a guy that's worked in the American League. So anyway, I submitted my tape, and I didn't hear anything. This would have been in probably April or May, and or whenever Bruce announced his retirement. And then I think it was towards the end of August, I got called in for an interview, and I interviewed with Mr. Ilitch and his son, Atanas Ilitch. And I go up to the 10th floor and I meet with Mr. Ilitch and Atanas. And Mr. Ilitch never listened to my tape beforehand, and he didn't know really much about me, I guess. And it was very uncomfortable because it was about a 7 to 10 minute tape that had my highlights and everything that I submitted. And I'm sitting in that chair and I'm thinking, what if he doesn't like this? You know what I mean? I mean, it was kind of a strange situation, but to make a long story short, he liked what he heard, and he said, "Do you know that if your coach, meaning Red Berenson, knows about you applying for this job?" And I said, "Yeah," and I had a letter of recommendation from Red Berenson, so I gave it to him. He read it, and then he asked me a few more questions, and then just walked out of the room, like just walked out from behind the desk. So I'm sitting there with Atanas for about 5 minutes, and I look over to him and I go, "Did I say anything that upset your dad?" Because he's going like, "I don't know. I don't know why he left. He just left. He bolted out of the room." So Atanas said, "Well, why don't you start filling out an application?" So John and Ozzy, no sooner I signed my name and dated it, these two big doors in the 10th floor open up, and it's Mr. Illich. And he comes in and he goes, "I just talked to your coach." So the reason why he left was he called Red, right? And I know
Mhm.
Red would give me a glowing
Wow.
recommendation.
Wow.
Yeah, I knew. So Red was going to give me a glowing recommendation. So I looked at Mr. Illich and I'm smiling. I go, "Well, what did Red say?" And Mr. Illich put his hand on my shoulder. He looked me right in the eye and he goes, "He says you're a bum." Just like that. And my mouth, my jaw just dropped, and then he starts laughing, like he could not stop laughing. He got me, right? So he's just laughing and laughing and laughing. So anyway, he says, listen, we really like you. He says, there's a couple other people we want to talk to. He says, but you're a front runner right now, and hang tight. This was like a Monday or Tuesday. And he said, by Friday, we'll make our decision. So all day Friday, I'm sitting around the house, no phone call, no phone call. 5 o'clock, exactly 5 o'clock, the director of broadcasting calls me up and offers me the job. So that's how I got hired in.
That's a spectacular story.
That is awesome.
Can you describe that feeling when you, on that Friday at 5 o'clock, when you were realizing that you had your dream job?
Well, I always told my dad when I was 10 years old, I wanted to be the Red Wing announcer. And as you go
Wow.
through life, you never know exactly how your life's going to go. And at that particular moment, I just couldn't believe it. I'm saying, I can't believe this is happening, that I am taking over for Bruce Martin and I'm going to be the radio guy for the Red Wings. So, I mean, it was just an unbelievable feeling. And then panic struck in because I go, I'm following a legend and Bruce Martin. Like, how is this
Yeah.
going to be? So all of a sudden you start thinking about all these different things.
That's good stuff. Kenny, what's your favorite game you've ever done?
There's been a lot of them, Ozzy. And I just think back, growing up here in Detroit, we went
Yeah.
42 years without a Stanley Cup.
Yeah.
And I always wanted as a fan to see the Red Wings win the Stanley Cup because I grew up here in Detroit and
Mhm.
they were my favorite team, right? With the Tigers and stuff. So um, to be able to not only be at that game where they beat Philadelphia, but to be able to call it and call it with Bruce Martin, who was my idol growing up,
Yeah.
as a
Yeah, right.
broadcaster, you
Yeah.
couldn't ask for a perfect scenario. And then with Bruce calling McCarty's goal, after all the
Yeah.
years he was the play-by-play voice of the Red Wings, never got a chance to call a Stanley Cup. He calls the cup-winning goal. So
Ah.
it was a
Yeah.
perfect scenario, guys. I mean, it just doesn't happen. It's like something for the movies. But that was, I guess, my favorite game I think that I've ever called.
Well, let's go forward from there, and there's other stories that we'll get to, but the one that I'm recalling is 2008, and tragically, you lose your voice. You got laryngitis in the Stanley Cup Finals, and the Wings are playing Pittsburgh, and it's Game 6, and so Ken Daniels is tapped on the shoulder to sub in for you in a game in which the Red Wings can clinch the Stanley Cup. Tell the story from there, Kenny.
Well, I knew something was up in Detroit, game 5. At the end of the game, I started feeling something going on, and I'm thinking like, well, maybe my throat's dry or something like that. Well, we fly to Pittsburgh, and I wake up the morning of game 6, and I couldn't talk. And I called our program director, and he couldn't even hear me, because I'm whispering and I'm trying to tell him, hey, listen, I can't do this game tonight. And so they called Daniels, and Daniels came in and filled in for me. And it was so disappointing because you kind of figured the Red Wings going to win, like they're going to beat Pittsburgh. They were the better team, and you just kind of figured that this was going to be the night. And after all the games that you had called all throughout the course of the year, the one that you really want to call, you can't do it. So it was kind of disappointing. But the silver lining in all of it, and
This is the story. This is the story, the end of the game. Share the
yeah.
story.
So I guess the silver lining in the cloud is that there's about a minute to go. Paul Woods is talking, and Daniels takes off his headset, and I was listening too. I had a headset with a mic on, and he leans over and he goes, "Hey, you're calling the last 15, 20 seconds." And we got into this little arguing. I could barely talk. I had a little bit of voice there, and I'm going like, "No, I'm not." And he goes, "Yes, you are." And he goes, "Put the headset on." And he goes, "You the last 20 seconds." So sure enough, he throws it over to me, and it just happens like all these thoughts are going in my head, because they threw the puck in, and Ozzy knows. I mean, they could have tied it up, right? The puck went
Yep.
to goal mouth. They were so close to scoring the tying goal. Then I'm thinking, like, well, what if they tie it? Now we go into overtime. Dan's gonna have to take over again. So, and the other thing, as an announcer, John, and I know you appreciate this, is these moments live forever. Like so 50 years from now, people are always going to remember the final call of a Stanley Cup, right?
Yep.
And my worry with Daniels was I don't know how I'm going to sound. I didn't talk for 3.5 hours, and I just had enough voice to get through that. And it turned out to be a good event.
15 seconds to go. That's who Crypt and Ken Kal bring us home for the Stanley Cup with 10 seconds left.
Gonchar flips it over the line. Lidstrom fires it out to center ice. 5 seconds to go. Gonchar to Malkin over the Detroit line. Pushes it forward. Backhand front. Oh, let's get the save. And the rebound slipped right through the goal mouth. Time will run out. And the Detroit Red Wings are the 2008 Stanley Cup champions.
Well, and the quote that I recall from Ken Daniels was, "I don't care if you can't talk, you have to bring it home." And you got a chance to say,
Nice.
the Detroit Red Wings are the 2008 Stanley Cup champions.
Right.
I mean, that's goosebump stuff, Kenny.
Yeah, but John and Ozzy knows this. I mean, it was a wild scramble in front, right, Ozzy? That last play.
Yeah.
If Ozzy played better, you wouldn't have had that drama to worry about. It's Ozzy's fault.
If you ever, I could see that whole play develop in slow motion from the neutral zone all the way through, and how it progressed. It seems fast, but as a goalie, you're watching it slow, and almost like the guys are moving slow. I can still remember everybody's moving and how it transpired. And of course, it's Crosby and Hossa on a 2-on-1 of all people, right? So it's actually the first one that I barely got, Ken. The backhand slap by Crosby was one of the best backhanders in the National Hockey League. Barely hit my arm and went to the side. That was the one, if you really take a look at it. So the other one was kind of behind the net, and Hoss didn't have much of an angle. But there's, in my terms, with a lot of things in my partner's life, unnecessary, just like you. Like when you're on the West Coast, trip, Ken, like and you say to me, I go, unnecessary. That's what I say.
Well, and on the list of unnecessary things, Ken, do you want to share the story of how a shirtless Chris Osgood wearing a headset happened to be in your booth on the NHL road one night?
I think it happened a couple of times. I don't know. Ozzy, people don't know this, but every time Ozzy's doing a game on television, between periods, he'll come into my booth and then he'll write on my note cards, my commercial cards. And,
what are you, 4? What are we, 5? What are we doing?
Well, no. And what he does is he hides them under a couple of them so I can't see it. So when we get to that read, like McLaren Health, we know what's best. And then he'll put on there like a 6-pack of beer on there, and just a couple of games ago when Ozzy did his last game, it was dark in the booth because the lights went out, so we got this small little light, and I really can't see the note card. So when I looked at it, I almost said it on the air, we know what's best, like a 6. Oh yeah, we're back to the action here. But no, Chris will do that stuff. And it makes it kind of fun. I mean, there's so many stories we can tell.
I always play pranks on Ken on the road. In San Jose, I'll put like old rotary phones and staplers in his bag. He'll have them on the plane after, because they got an old storage room there, just a bunch of old relic stuff in there. So I take it, put it in his bag, and he's on the plane. What the heck? He's got like a rotary phone.
A rotary phone?
Oh yeah.
And you didn't realize a rotary phone was in your bag?
No,
lots of stuff.
John, I have all these stuff in my bag, batteries and backup cords and everything. I can't tell the difference. So we go to the next stop. Maybe it's, Calgary or whatever, or Los Angeles. And then I'm digging through my bag in the hotel the next day and I find a rotary phone in there. Or a TV remote.
Like I wrote, where were we, in Vegas?
No, here's the story, guys. This is the one that tops it all. We were in Vancouver.
And I love this story.
We're in Vancouver, and Ozzy sneaks in, and the engineer has this padlock, that opens with a key, and he's got it open, hanging on the handle, right, of the where all the equipment is. So Chris comes in, and we're on the air. Paul and I are talking. We're describing, the intermission or whatever, and Chris takes the padlock and attaches it to my sport coat, the buttonhole. And not only that, he locks it. All right. So my sport coat, I took it off, and it was hanging on the door. So at the end of the game, we were in a hurry to catch the bus, and I grabbed my sport coat, but I don't feel the weight of it. Right. So we fly over to Edmonton. I still don't know that I have this lock on there. Right. So the next morning, the engineer in Vancouver calls me up, and he goes, "Hey," he goes, I'm missing my lock. And this lock must have been from the 1930s because he had some type of thing about this lock. And he goes,
Oh yeah.
check your bag and see if it might have fell in there. And
Oh my
I'm looking in the bag and I tell the guy, I think his name was John. I go, John, it's not here. I don't see it, right? He goes, well, if you find it, let me know. And he was mad. He was really upset. So then I put the bag down. I grabbed my sport coat off the bed, and sure enough, this heavy lock is on my sport coat, right?
In Edmonton now.
In Edmonton. So now that's the only sport coat I have. I had to take scissors and cut the hole in the sport coat to remove the lock. And then you know how in the hotels they give you that little sewing kit,
Yeah.
and they have the needle and the thread.
Yeah.
So here I am threading up that hole so I could wear it the next day and it wouldn't look bad. Not that we're on radio, you can't see it, but still. So the long story short here is that when we go back to Vancouver after that event, our engineer John has never worked with us since.
Really?
That
No.
was it. That was the straw that broke the camel's back.
He works for all the other teams, but not the Red Wings when they come in because he's still pissed that he lost the lock because Ozzy stole it from him.
Yeah, but he thinks I took it, so he won't
He
work
thinks
with us.
Ken took it.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
I know one of your thrills has been doing the occasional Tigers broadcast.
Yeah.
How much did you enjoy that? Because as we've talked about, I mean, one of my idols was Ernie Harwell, just getting into broadcasting. How cool was that for you, Kenny?
Well, again, I had no baseball experience. I think I called one game in college at Wayne State, but I never called a game. So when they were in a pinch, Dan Dickerson couldn't make it for whatever reason. It was a game in September, and they asked me to do the game, and I told whoever asked me at the time, I said, "Look, I go, I've never done a baseball game before." I said, maybe you should get somebody else because I've never called a game before. And they said, "Well, I'll tell you what, we'll put you and Rieger in the press box and do like a demo
Simulated?
game against the
Yeah.
White Sox
Right.
2 or 3 days before the game I was supposed to do against the Royals, right?" So we went through it and they listened to the demo. They said, "Well, it's good enough. It's only one game." So, and the good thing about it was the game that I did, it was the Lions' first preseason game. So everyone's listening to the Lions, and we were put on 1270, which you can't even hear, right? I mean, it's like
Yeah.
1 watt at night, and you can't even hear it. So it was good. No one's going to hear the game anyway. But you don't really appreciate how good Dan Dickerson is until
I
you
know.
try to do it.
I know.
And
I know.
you know what? He makes it sound so easy when he's on. Ernie made it sound so easy. Paul Carey, all these guys. You try to do it, and it's totally different from hockey.
Yeah.
I mean, you less is more on the radio in baseball, and I have always said, John, that it's easier to call an action than it is to try and talk about anything else. And I made it through. It was okay. I wouldn't say it was my best broadcast, but they did ask me to come back. I think I've done 7 or 8 of them in the past, so it was a really good experience.
Well, and I will share that with you because I was on the road with the Tigers when Dan Dickerson was jogging in Kansas City. I don't know if it's this stretch that also affected you, but he blew out both knees while jogging. He hit a
Oh.
pothole, and he was down and out and couldn't travel. And I ended up being asked to be with Jim Price, and similar to your story, Kenny, doing the best I could, letting it breathe a little bit, and
Yep.
and Jim did 6 innings. I think I did 3 innings, but I was in Pittsburgh doing TV and radio when the Penguins beat the Red Wings in Detroit, and then they brought the cup onto the field at what is now what's the name of this PNC Park in Pittsburgh, and that was weird to be having covered the Red Wings all season and then doing baseball and then seeing the Stanley Cup on the field as the Penguins were celebrating the '09 Cup after the Wings won it in 2008. But I know I can relate to your story. Doing a sport that is not, or doing a job that is not your norm is tricky. It's not as easy as the pros make it seem.
Now, baseball, like I said, baseball, you got to let the game breathe, and it's just hockey. Hockey to me, you're always talking, and to me, it's a lot easier. A lot of people say hockey's the most difficult sport to call because it's the only sport where players can change while the game's going on. And every other game, it's not like that. But I just think with all the flow in hockey, to me, once you get a rhythm going, it's pretty good. It's a lot
Yeah.
easier than baseball.
And I've done high school football and basketball as well, and the Tigers broadcast, and I've told people just like I will never ever ever attempt to do hockey, and I've shared that with Ken Daniels, who said, "What's the big deal? You just this guy over to that guy over to this guy over to that guy, and you know that's you just it's easier when there's stuff all the time that's going on, and particularly on the radio, Kenny, we don't know if you're lying to us or not. We're not even sure you're telling the truth
Well,
sometimes.
you know what? That's a good point, John, because there's a lot of my neighbors. I tell them, I said, well, when I get stuck on a player, I throw their neighbor name in. Nobody knows. I mean, it's radio, right? But you know what? John? John, radio is a lot of fun, and that's one of the reasons why I enjoy radio and I enjoy calling hockey games because it really is so much fun. I mean, to be able to describe a game and there's the challenge of actually uh, painting a picture in the listener's
Yeah.
mind
Yeah.
when they can't see it is the biggest challenge, but that's what I get the most enjoyment out of. If someone asks me, what do you like the best about your job? And it's painting the picture for the listener and trying to tell who has the puck, where they're on the ice at all times.
What was it like covering Chris Osgood, the player?
Well, it depends what
Remember,
city we were in.
remember in Nashville? Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
the thing with Chris is, as a radio guy, you have to get interviews, obviously player interviews, and you air them during the game. You never knew what you were going to get with Osgood because one day we were in Nashville, and the thing about Chris is he's got a short attention span. You know what I mean?
Really?
Yeah,
Really? Wait a minute. Hang on. Let me try to get my arms around that idea. You're saying that Chris Osgood has a short attention span? I had no idea. Zero idea.
you know what? You do a 4-minute interview with him, and after 2 minutes, he's done. Right? So we're in Nashville, and
That's
I'm
what she
interviewing
said.
him, and
Oh.
he's giving me a great interview. That's 2 minutes of great hockey talk. And then all of a sudden, it's like a light switch changes, right? It gets turned on. What does he do? In the middle of our conversation, he starts singing "Take Me Home, Country Roads." So,
Oh yeah,
so,
in its
so here I am.
entirety.
Hey, listen, I'm here. I'm going. All right, Chris. So tell us about the Predators. What players do you have to watch out? And he's like, Kenny, take me home, country roads to the place. And he goes, come on, you know the words. Start singing it with me. So I end up starting to sing with him, and that was our interview.
Do you save that stuff, Kenny? Like, do you have these? Do you still have all your interviews, or do they
Yeah,
disappear
I've
after?
got them somewhere. I mean, they're
Okay.
probably up in the attic somewhere, but
Oh,
Oh my
nice. That would
God.
be unreal. Some of the stuff you'd have. Be
eh,
spectacular stuff.
well, the other thing too is like you never know what Chris is. When Maltby and McCarty were around, these guys were unbelievable. And the thing about those guys back in the day, it's changed now, John, and you know this, but when Ozzy and Mac and Koser and all the guys, Draper, Stevie, Shanahan, Lidstrom, they all made you feel like family, like they included you in
Right.
everything. And even though
Yeah.
you're a broadcaster and you're kind of like an outside media person, they always considered us as family, and I appreciate that because in today's game, it's not like that. Things have changed. But I remember one time I'm interviewing Kirk Maltby, and he's sitting on his stool, and Ozzy comes out of the shower, and he has no clothes on, and he sits on Maltby's lap. Good thing it's radio because you can't see anything.
Jeez.
But just to go, hey, wait, I forgot.
What?
Here we are talking. I digress.
Yeah.
The time he took his shirt off in Boston, he just came into the booth, and he says,
Yeah.
we got to get this team going somehow. So he takes his shirt off. You know what I mean? I'm like, what are you doing?
It's
And then it grew legs after that. I mean,
Yeah.
it's cold there. Then you can speak of Kenny, because I got to ask you, and I have to. You speak of guys that blew their knees out. Well, Ken's blowing his knees out of Dean's muscle in. Name me, and I know. And you speak of Joey Kosher and all this stuff. With me, I remember hanging out with you there. I mean, we'd have days off or playoffs. But what's your favorite, say, two places to go if you're going to go somewhere?
Well, back in the day when we were in the playoffs, we'd go to Los Angeles. Those were killer trips because we'd go to Dean's Muscle Inn,
Yeah, right
right,
on the beach.
right on the
Oh,
beach, and it was a small little little place right on the beach, and a lot of times we got lost in there, John.
I
And
remember I was in there. I went back to
Got
the
lost in
bathroom,
there.
and then I was talking to somebody. This is how legendary Ken Kal and Paul Woods are in this place. And I'm talking to somebody. I look over their shoulder as I'm talking. I'm like, what the heck is that? There's a picture of Ken Kal and Paul Woods on the wall in the bar. That's how legendary they are at this place. These two, but
Wait. What's the story there? How did a picture end up in a bar on the road of you guys?
no, because they take pictures of people they like that went in there, and we always stay at the Lowe's, and it was what, kind of a 4 minute walk maybe by the pier in
yeah,
Santa Monica, kind of right at the pier, and they had great they'd always have they'd put hockey on essentially is what it was. They put sports on wherever you wanted, so that's why we went there because when you're there, it's hard to get hockey on honestly then in some places. So that's why we went there. It was a great spot. It was like you're relaxing with your buddies in your basement, right? And it was a great, but you had the beach and the water.
Oh
but
my
you know what,
gosh.
John, it was like like there's certain establishments you go into, and they just take pictures of the guests, and then they put them on the wall, right? Well, they just happened to put our picture up there, and I think it's still there. I haven't been there
Still
in a
there.
couple of years, but I think it's still up there on the
That's
wall.
spectacular.
It's still
That's
there.
spectacular.
It lives on.
Hey, John, I have one more story, real quick. It
Okay.
involves
All right.
the Red Wings in Vancouver. We're getting off the bus one day, and I'm walking next to Chris as the Red Wings are going to play that night, and I said, Chris, I go, if you get a chance tonight, I said, and if you get a chance to fire a puck at an empty net, do it for me, will you? Just do it. So Scotty was the coach at the time. So we're calling the game. It gets down to the last minute and a half. Sure enough, it's a 1-goal game, and Vancouver pulls their goalie, and the puck comes right to Chris, and he's got a chance to, like you never think he's going to do it, right? I mean, you're going to play it safe, you win the game, but oh no, Chris takes that puck, and he's going to shoot it towards the empty net. Chris, what happened after you got the puck?
It flubbed up. It flubbed up like a 60-degree wedge in golf. It flipped on my stick and was straight up and landed probably 5 feet away from me. Right now, then I'm against the net and I'm across now between goaltending wise. I look like I'm in the 80s. My hands are on the crossbar. I got my feet kind of in a T and they're jamming away at it. It's in my feet and I'm trying to hold my ground. Eventually, they shoved me and the puck in the net. And I can't remember the ref come, no goal, no goal. He waved it off. Literally, I flubbed it. It went straight up and down right in front of me, and it was chaos at the net. But I did it for you.
But that was Cal's fault. That was Cal's fault that you almost lost the game because you tried to shoot it into an empty net.
But
right?
you know what? You tell people this all the time. You tell players, hey, yeah, get a hat trick tonight or something like that. It's like, Ozzy, yeah, you go for that empty net. And then Scotty wasn't happy. You can just see him on the bench. He's just shaking his head.
He was pissed. He was like, and when he's mad at you, like he doesn't even talk to you after that. And Barry Smith would be like, "Oh no,
oh my God,
that wasn't the right thing to do, Ozzy. That was not the right thing to do." And then we go on the road trip, and that's when Vernie then got caught out, and he gave us both a tongue lashing about, "I've coached Jacques Plante. I've coached all these guys. I told them to stay in the damn net."
You don't mean he got caught out of the crease. You mean he got caught out of the hotel.
When you sign the wrong thing and he catch you, and you're young and foolish, so yeah.
Oh man,
so many great stories.
Yeah,
so many.
Kenny,
we go on forever.
Yeah, I know we could. We've kept you too long. It's great to see. I miss seeing you at the rink and around the team, and it's great to catch up here. And hopefully our paths will cross one of these days.
Say it once, left to right on your radio dial. I love that.
Well, it's always an interesting time when Ozzy visits you between periods. You always have to be on guard, and I'll tell you what, I wouldn't have it any other way. Ozzy, you're the best. John, you're great working with you all those years, and it's we just had so much fun, on the road too. That it just makes it a whole lot better when you go on a 12-day road trip. You got to get out a little bit, and we just had so much fun. It's always fun to talk about those times.
Hey, all the best, man. We'll see you soon, and we'll continue on Ozzy and Keats in a moment. All right, so the stories are classic. The stories are endless. And as the stories are being told, I can see the look on Ozzy's face as he's recalling some of these nights, as much as he can recall some of these nights. It's why we've done what we've done, for as long as we've done it, right?
Yeah, I love pranking Ken Kal. He's vulnerable. It's easy, and he's not focused. Like, we're in Vegas, and they got they have the kind of the time sheet for when the game's going to start. Puck drop, anthem singer at 7:05, puck drop 7:08. You know how they have it warm up 6:45. I write in there.
Right.
Ken Kal jumps out of the box naked 7:10, and some girl that's with the PR staff for Vegas. Who is this Ken Kal guy? She's looking for Ken Kal. I go, oh, he's in there, but you better watch out for him. He's been acting up. He's ready to he's going to jump out of the box naked. It says it's 7:10. Oh my gosh. So I taped it to the door of his radio booth and highlighted it.
Well, wait a minute. He's not really naked.
No. I write in the time sheet. Like, so
Yeah.
it'd say like 6:30 arrive, 6:30 warm up, whatever, 6:45, whatever happens.
Yeah.
6:55 players take ice, 7:02 anthem. Then it's 7:08 puck drop, 7:10 Ken Kal jumps naked out of box. Highlighted.
So
The girl's like, the PR staff girl for the Vegas. Who's this Ken Kal guy, and why is he wasting this?
Jeez. Ken Kal's career ends because you and these days, if that happened these days with stuff going viral and all that kind of stuff.
Oh.
Well, did you hear about Ken Kal? Yeah, all that kind
Yeah.
of stuff. I mean, yeah, because of you. That would be your fault
Yeah.
that a man's
That
career
would be
ended.
my fault.
And you would still giggle about the story.
I plan on getting him as much as I can before either he's done or I'm done with this little gig we got going. It's too much fun.
Yeah,
I can't get Paul Woods. I have too much
Paul, Woody is so good, and he's so he's as good as they come, and more of a straight arrow than you. I will say that.
Oh yes,
yes. All right, that's going to do it for this edition of Ozzy and Keats, presented to you by Meijer. We are thrilled to have Meijer. Meijer brings more good to every game day, and we'll see you next time on another installment of Ozzy and Keats. Have a great day, everybody.
Ozzy and Keats is produced by Zachary Davis and Bill McAllister and proudly distributed by Podcast Nation in Troy, Michigan.